Hi, my name is Susan. I'm the Senior Culinary Manager here at Tasty, and today I'm going to show you how to make my aunt's version of banh mi with lemongrass pork. So this recipe comes from my aunt. Her name is Ma Op. My aunt has always been one of the hardest workers I've ever seen ever since she's moved to the States from Vietnam. I remember being a little girl and she had a banh mi shop in Seattle, and so I never went hungry. Anytime I wanted a banh mi fix, I could just walk over to my aunt's sandwich shop and load up. And it kind of was where I grew to love this very traditional Vietnamese sandwich. Since then, she's moved away from Seattle and now is based in the Cypress kind of Long Beach area, and she has another fantastic sandwich shop called Sandwich House. She is the person that gave me this recipe to make, but I've made a couple of small adjustments to make it a little bit more me. There's a couple of key components to the recipe. The first one you want to get started are the pickled vegetables, because those take at least 1 day to get all pickly and delicious. It's very, very simple. It's just carrots and daikon. So daikon is a long white radish, which is actually pretty mild in flavor, so it's perfect for the use in a pickled application because it really takes on any flavor that you add to it. And what the salt and the sugar and the vinegar do is just come together to draw out the delicious sweetness from the carrots and the daikon, and it's just the perfect addition to the sandwich because it kind of keeps the sandwich really nice and light. So in this recipe for the lemongrass pork, you use 4 whole stalks of lemongrass, and it might seem excessive, like it's a ton, but really you only use the center of the lemongrass, which is the most tender part, and you'll add it to the dish after you cook it down to kind of soften it up a bit, because lemongrass, even when cooked, tends to have a little bit of a bite to it, so you definitely want to cut it really, really fine and then saute it just to kind of further soften it so that it tastes the best it can in the dish. So I've worked in food media. I think I'm gonna age myself out like right now, but I've worked in food media for about 15 years. But last year when Tasty asked me to make my version of pho, I actually jumped at the chance because up to that point, I had actually never been asked to make a dish that I truly believed in, that was part of my culture. And I thought that was so amazing. Tasty was actively trying to make content that was really diverse and that showcased Asian cultures. So what I do that's a little bit different from what my aunt does is that she actually doesn't use fish sauce, which to me, there is no Vietnamese recipe that is complete without a little bit of fish sauce. So I add a dash into the marinade, and that's just my little secret, and will like never tell her ever. So my aunt uses pork butt for this recipe because it has a lot of nice marbling that runs through it, and it stays really juicy on the grill, and it's really hard to dry out. While that's marinating, you're gonna cook down a ton of lemongrass and onion just until it's softened and lightly caramelized. Then she adds it to the meat after it's finished grilling. And I thought that was just super, super smart and kind of puts you in more control of how the vegetables react in the dish. I decided to do this banh mi sandwich because I feel like banh mi's have been growing in popularity. You kind of see them in a ton of different type of sandwich shops, not just banh mi shops, you know, in Chinatown or Little Saigon. You're actually seeing them on menus in even American sandwich shops, which I think is really exciting because I think it's saying that people are really ready to try new cultures, food and different flavors, and I think it's a really exciting time in food. Another secret that we won't tell my aunt is I add a layer of whipped pate to my banh mi. It's something that's interesting because my aunt doesn't find it traditional, but for me, it's just has to be part of the banh mi. I think sometimes when certain foods are what people will say is westernized, people see it as a bad thing. And I don't know, that's a bigger topic for sure, but I think that what it's at least telling me is that people are ready to try new things. Even if it's not the authentic traditional way that I grew up having it, it is saying that people at least know what a banh mi is. I don't think that is the case 15 years ago. APM is such an exciting time for the Asian community because I'm just showing you one recipe from my Vietnamese roots, but there's so many other cultures and so much history that we're able to celebrate during this very special month. I love sandwiches so much, and banh mi's really are my absolute favorite.
Oh yes!